feeling, a great feeling from Jimmy Lakey. Jimmy Lakey in the morning makes me feel alive. Woke me up this morning, now I'm up and on my way. Oh, 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 yeah, what a great way to start your day, the Lakey way.
All right, top of the morning to you, everybody. Jimmy is my name. Glad to have you here. Great way to start your day, the Lakey way. Jimmy Lakey behind the microphone, unleashed from the confines of corporate radio. And here we gather together at 2 minutes after the hour of 8 o'clock in the Mountain Time Zone, where I'm broadcasting, streamcasting, and podcasting from. And let's see, if you're on the East Coast, back in the swamp of Washington, D.C., you just hit 3 minutes after the hour of 10 o'clock in the morning. Now, some of you out there listening to this on a different time frame, it's afternoon, it's the evening, middle of the night, insomnia has set in. Well, that means you're listening to our podcast, and we're glad to have you listening to us. However it is that you choose to listen and are able to listen, welcome into Lakey Unleashed. Years in the corporate radio studio, now unleashed from the confines of corporate radio. Good morning. All right, as you can see across the screen, people are starting to check in from their digital location, their cyber location. Please don't give your exact address, because producer Chad has been known to need a restraining order or two. So don't give your physical address, but you can tell us what state you're in. There's a Laramie checking in, as Scott does every morning. Arloa just checked in from Tejas, the motherland. RJ checked in from the confines of Arkansas, or Arkansas, as we say. Where are you listening at or watching at? I know we have some of the usual gang gathering around the campfire, for the fireside chat with Brother Lakey. But let us know where you're at. Always love to hear from you. Whatever platform you're on, don't forget your comments are welcome. And you just kind of pop in at the bottom of the Facebook feed if you're watching on Facebook.com/Jimmy Lakey fan page, Red Wave America, the Media Equalizer. Lots of different pages. You're accessible. Feel free to jump in. Jim jumps in from Fort Collins, Colorado. And so there's our first Colorado person jumping into the chat room and chiming in and letting us know where they're listening at or watching. So glad to have you here. All right, big show coming up here today. Our friend Sherry Cree is going to be on talking a couple of real estate topics here later on in the program. Also, John Gordon is supposed to be on the program. You remember the John Gordon show? Well, maybe you don't. Well, we'll talk to John Gordon. That's coming up here in just a moment as well. Let's see what else. Oh, I've got a question of the day I want to get into. It's sparred by my own, and we teased it yesterday, sparred by my own shamefulness and interaction with the producer Chad. He had a community-wide garage sale this past weekend, and he participated, and he's driving a Ferrari today. And that's because, that garage sale, they had a lot of treasures at the Jameson household, and they sold it all. They just sold a small portion of it. And now with the money you make as a big time producer, he's driving the Ferrari after that garage sale. Just that the garage sale got him right over the top. Right over the top is where the garage sale got him. So we'll get to that question of the day here in just a moment. The stories continue to come out of Boulder, Colorado. This terrorist that went there and attacked. The guy had been here. He overstayed his visa on a tourist visa. And so he goes to the government and says, "Oh, I overstayed my visa. Please, I need asylum now." He didn't need asylum when he got here. And, there are guidelines of how you're supposed to declare asylum. Anybody who's traveled overseas, as I do extensively, a lot of the countries in the European Union have a notice posted as you're heading towards the customs and immigration. If you need asylum, you need to take this turn here. Don't go that way. You go this way. And technically, I think the international laws on asylum are you go to the very first country that you seek asylum that is a safe haven for you. And somehow the guy got a tourist visa. And I think this is another part of the scrutiny of our immigration system under Joe Biden is broken. How much of it, how did this guy even get a tourist visa? I told you I help people in Africa through our charity work all the time. And I have a tough time I've got one of my guys who actually studied here, so he's studied in America. He works with me over there. He has a visa, and it's a 10-year visa, and it's just a basic. It's a great visa, and I helped him get that with my letters. But he also had a background here as a student, and so he's proven trustworthiness. But just getting someone over here, we have our charity golf events or charity events. If I wanted to bring somebody over here to talk about the good work, it is almost so far for 18 years has been impossible to get someone to a visa to get over here. But hey, you're an Egyptian terrorist. You get to zip right over anytime you want, I guess. So anyway, good morning to you. We'll talk more about that. There's some criticism of from the Colorado Republicans here in the great state of Colorado, where I'm at, some of them have issued a statement that evidently, even in light of the shooting in Boulder, Colorado, I guess the Colorado Dems have brought in Ilhan Omar to speak at a fundraiser. Ilhan Omar, who is known to make anti-Semitic responses, she is Ilhan Omar is also the one who has she lots of things we can say about Ilhan. Ilhan has been known to say "Free Palestine," which has become the battle cry on the street. If you're picking up on this, why Free Palestine? Because there is a movement. You can look it up and see all the people that are in the movement, and they're called normalized or worldwide the Intifada, which means basically all the terror that you've known in the Middle East, they want to have worldwide Intifada, which basically means they want to bring that battle, that war right here and that damage. And that's why you've seen the bigoted anti-Semitic American left has firebombed and tried to burn down the house of Josh Shapiro, the Jewish governor of Pennsylvania, that could probably have been your VP candidate had there not been so many anti-Semites in the Democrat Party. They firebombed his house. They killed 2 people on the streets and in Washington, D.C. And then, of course, the blowtorches yesterday or over the weekend just down the street that way in Boulder, Colorado, just not too far from the studios where producer Chad and I do this program. So just down the road, my friends. And all of them were chanting "Free Palestine." Ilhan Omar is a big Free Palestine person, and the Colorado Democrats evidently brought her in or bringing her in for a fundraiser, forgetting about maybe that's not the best sensitivity training, if you will. Ilhan Omar may not be the person you want if you're wanting to tamp down cries of your party's affiliation with anti-Semitic, anti-Jewish hags. I almost used another word to describe Ilhan. Also, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is getting called out. Speaking of anti-Semitic people and also stupid people, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is being called out by a former baseball player. I don't know if you know former league baseball MLB star Kevin Youkilis. Youkilis, I think so. He called out AOC, of Democrat from New York, because AOC said she was horrified on her social media. She was horrified by the attacks just down the street from here in Boulder. She says, "My heart is with the victims and our Jewish communities across the country. Anti-Semitism is on the rise here at home, and we have a moral responsibility to confront it and stop it everywhere it exists." So that's what the little barmaid, bartender Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez said. I don't know if she had her apron on. No, she's wiping the counter. Not sure what she was drinking even. Maybe she was making Kamala a drink. I don't know. But her thoughts and prayers go out to the Jewish communities across the country. I wonder if she's putting in double hearts and prayers since she hangs out with a bunch of anti-Semites like Ilhan Omar. I'm just asking, maybe your hearts and prayers there, AOC, are canceled out by the evil in the heart of some of your colleagues in the squad. Well, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez can virtue signal and say, "My heart and prayers." She couldn't say prayers. She says her heart is with the Jewish victims, and anti-Semitism is on the rise. If you can't say "my thoughts and prayers," you got to work really hard to kind of find a way to express yourself. My thoughts and prayers. Oh, God dang it, I'm a Democrat. I can't say that. My thoughts and prayers are my heart. And before you know it, AOC is going to be doing a Cory Booker Nazi salute. That's how she's going to work it, because she's going to say, "My heart." And then you know what happens next? It happens next. They go full Cory Booker on us and do a Sig Heil. So anyway, watch out, AOC. If your heart is with the victims, you don't want to. Don't push it, woman. We know who you are. Anti-Semitism is on the rise. She's very bothered by it. So here, sorry, I was a whole rabbit trail. The baseball player Then aforementioned that I mentioned to you, his name was Kevin Youkilis, and Kevin Youkilis happens to be a Jewish fellow. He knows well American politics and AOC. Youkilis is the most recently known for his time as the Boston Red Sox. He played for the New York Yankees. Final year of the MLB was in his career, 2013. So he's an old timer, if you will. But he was asked by somebody. They said, "Hey, you're kind of got some ties to New York. What do you think that what do you think of the comments by Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, a representative from the state of New York, where you've played the baseball?" He says Jews are targeted with violence, and it's the same virtue signaling post at time and time again. What you have done, he actually confronted her on X, tagging her, and said, what have you done to confront those calling for intifadas in New York City? Until you create a plan of action, your repeated virtue signaling, AOC, after a violence, it holds no weight. So getting it called out, and that's what you have happen. You have a lot of virtue signaling out there. AOC says, "Oh, my heart, it goes out to the," but if your heart was really out there, wouldn't you want to be tamping down the rhetoric that comes from your party? Wouldn't you want to be telling your fellow squad members to shut up and pipe down and shut their pie hole? Wouldn't you want to be, as the baseball player said, standing up against the Foss says it's Youkilis. Kevin Youkilis. See, I'm not a baseball guy. That's what the chat room is for, to correct the host. Anytime in the program, if you'd like to make a point of order on this program, all you got to do is make a comment, and then all of a sudden you have somebody watching it there on the Facebook, and they say, "Oh, I get to correct Jimmy Lakey." Boom, just like that. It's like, who's smarter than a 3-year-old and who wants to correct Jimmy Lakey? It's a game show they're going to play. There's going to be a new one. Anyway, Kevin Youkilis is the guy that comes out and says, "Hey, AOC, your virtue signaling is pathetic. And you're pretending that your heart is with the Jewish community, and yet you hang out with a bunch of people and fraternize and sororitize with a bunch of people that are not necessarily friendly to the Jewish people. Shame on you, AOC." Interesting developments. We'll keep coming up with the stories. I think they're now up to 12 victims they've identified from the firebombing and the fire blasting on this past Sunday. And just the radicalism that has infiltrated the American left, the hatred. Not only will they firebomb cars, but now they're trying to firebomb Jews. And it's a really sick and twisted world. And people like AOC put out a tweet here and there, but they spend the rest of their time trying to gin up this anti-Semitic frenzy. All right, good to have you here on the program. We're going to be joined by a couple of great guests this morning. Great question of the day is coming up as well. I've got a story for those of us in Colorado. Some of you, growing up, Colorado is like a state. If I ever leave the great state of Texas, I'm coming to Colorado. And now I've got so many of my friends that are saying, "I love Colorado. It's not what it used to be. If I could ever leave here, I will." And we said this, that our jackwagon governor, Jared Polis, has done more to harm the state of Colorado in the last 7 years of his term than probably has been harm done the entire 20 plus years that I've been here, transplanting from the state of Colorado. Well, there is a Denver exodus is happening, my friends. People are leaving. It ain't just a talk show host on the television and on the YouTubes and on the Spotify and on the iHeartRadio app that's talking about the craziness of Colorado. Colorado was, for a long time, one of the most popular states to move to. It has now become one of the most popular states to get the hell out of, or one of the most popular cities. We'll bring John Gordon here in just a minute on some other topics, but Denver now is climbing up the list. If you want to know where I'm looking at right now, just this way a few miles is Boulder, just that way a few miles is Denver. So I'm in the heart of all this stuff, and I can attest that it's one of those places, and I've got more and more people that have been here, even natives, that say it's probably time to leave. Arloa is an exile from the great state of Colorado. RJ is an exile from the state of Colorado. Scott up in Wyoming is an exile from the great state of Colorado. We've got a lot of expats from Colorado that had to get the heck out of the state. And I'm sure, as I mentioned their name, they won't mind telling you what the craziness was in the state that caused them to say, "We're going to hit the road, Jack, and we ain't coming back. No more." And a lot of the excuses have become the policies of idiots like Jared Polis and the Colorado Democrats. So it's a big. There's rich jumping in. We have a lot of transplants from Colorado coming to the middle of Missouri. People fleeing the state. Let me give you the facts, and we'll bring in John Gordon on some other topics. The Pods Moving Company. That's the company where you have the big container put in your driveway. You load up the pod, they take it off on a flatbed, it goes away. Well, for years, U-Haul has been known that if you want to drive a U-Haul to California, it's real cheap. But if you want to take a U-Haul from California, it's very, very expensive because there's a shortage. They'll almost pay you to put a U-Haul, to drive a U-Haul back to move into California, because they need all the help to get the trucks back here. Well, Pod's Moving Company has conducted a survey. They've compiled data on where people moving to and from. And if U-Haul is telling the story about the hellhole that California has become, according to the report from Pods, people, there's a lot of people leaving the great state of Colorado. Many people who have left the Sunshine State moved to the Midwest, Northeast, in states like Colorado, New Mexico, according to the report. However, Denver was not the cities where people were moving to. Pods found that even if you're going to live in Colorado, you want to get the heck out of that cesspool, that armpit of humanity called Denver, Colorado, because it's run by bad crap, crazy liberals. And at times, downtown Denver has become a place where at least San Francisco, when they let the homeless and the bums poop on the ground, somebody was entrepreneurial and put on a poop map, remember? So you could drive down the street and go, or sidewalk and go, yeah, we better take a left turn. There's a big pile of crap coming up in the next block. The pile of crap is smaller on the next block. Let's go around it. Yeah, well, Denver's got shit on the streets, and yet they don't have maps to give you guidance to get around. The Mile High City is not new to the list of cities that people are leaving, but it's now climbing in the ranks. In 20 here, it's sliding quick, friends. Last year, it was number 18, so kind of the middle of the pack of where people leaving. You got big cities, number 18. Well, it has, in the last 8 to 12 months, has skyrocketed up to number 12. Areas with higher living costs and crime, people are moving the heck out of Denver, and there is a reason for that. When you hear me talking and warning you about the policies of the state of Colorado, Denver is centric to that. If you remember the Tren de Aragua gang members in Aurora, there's a battle between Aurora mayor and Denver mayor, because the Denver mayor, trying to cover up the mess that he's created in his own city, was working with humanitarian organizations in Denver to say, hey, we're going to help fund your humanitarian aid because we've got all these poor illegal immigrant criminals roaming the streets here. But hey, if we fund it, could you house them maybe over in Aurora, which is just down the street there? And that's what happened. So anyway, mark my words, there's going to be more stories out there as Jared Polis decides he wants to run for president one day. He's going to say, Colorado's great. And we're going to say, no, it's not. You've destroyed it, Mr. Polis and Democrat mayors of the city of Denver. There's great places, but overall, the policies here are just stupid. 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 All right, I like saying stupid like this. Stupid. All right, good to have all of you here. John Gordon's waiting patiently for my pontification to stop, as I probably should have. He stopped yapping about 4 minutes ago looking at the clock. But hey, I was fired up, ready to go, and the coffee's kicking in. So I'm feeling good about it. John Gordon, host of the John Gordon Show, is in the green room there. John, welcome back to the program, sir. How are you?
Good. I liked your pontification. Keep going.
The truth with John Gordon. Tell the truth and the whole truth, nothing but the truth. Good to have you, sir. How you been?
Good. Everything, life's good.
I got a couple of stories. I've been meaning to have you back on a couple of other topics, and we're going to hit some news stories here in just a minute. But I haven't talked to you. I think we only talked once or twice, and I know you're a big follower of the JFK stuff. What do you think of the JFK drop that has come out there? We find out the CIA was being pretty nasty. I'm surprised they still have an airport named after Dulles in Washington, D.C., seeing how naughty that character was. But just give me your overall take. Dive into that, then we'll get some news stories.
Well, the documents that were released were nothing burgers. There were no new revelations contained in those, other than the fact that we confirmed what we already knew, and that is the CIA is involved in government destabilization and overthrowing regimes that they don't like. I guess we don't like as a country. I'm not sure who we are, but in the mid 1990s, I can't remember the exact year, the United States Congress passed an act that said all the JFK documents had to be released within a certain period of time. The CIA, the FBI, those who would have an interest in covering up have had 30 years to get ready for this day. It was inevitable. And if we think that they're going to leave incriminating information in the public domain that could be accessed by the American people, that could cause them to lose faith in and maybe lose funding in the CIA and FBI, we're kidding ourselves. So all the critical documents are gone, just like Kennedy's brain is gone from the National Archives. Saying those words really pain me because I think it's inhumane and it's uncivilized and it's a dastardly. The whole thing is a betrayal of the American people, and it saddens me and it makes me angry that our own government would kill the most popularly elected president of the United States up until that time, and
Yeah.
you usurp the power of the American people because they want to decide how this country should be chartered and how it should be run in defiance of the Constitution and the laws of our country and the laws of God. And so I think that's what we've seen on firsthand display. And that's why the Kennedy assassination is so important for people to understand and really delve into the details and get the facts because it exposes our government. And so
Yeah.
many people in the CIA they recruit at Harvard and Yale and Princeton and the Ivy League schools, and they think they're smarter than everybody else. And I don't know whether they're smarter
Yeah.
or more evil, but it needs to
Yeah.
stop. And
It does. The voice of John Gordon, host of the syndicated radio show called The Truth with John Gordon. Back in the day, maybe you follow politics in the state of Georgia. He was a Trump-endorsed Republican candidate to be the Georgia Attorney General back in 2022. Again, his syndicated show is called The Truth with John Gordon. We'll talk more about that here in just a wee bit. John, speaking of the nefarious actions of nasty people in the underbelly of government in Washington, D.C., and the Kennedy assassination of the CIA. It is fascinating to me, my friend, that we still don't have a lot of information about this supposedly 18-year-old, 19-year-old that tried to kill President Trump July 13th, Butler, Pennsylvania. He went from his day job, from cleaning bedpans at a nursing home, I think, to suddenly becoming an assassin, attempted assassin, a would-be assassin, and we still don't know much about him. And the brain of Kennedy may be missing, but they had that body cremated pretty quickly there back last year.
yeah, you think 10 days after the assassination attempt. But whose body did they cremate? I'm not certain that it's Thomas Matthew Crooks. There's another guy, Maxwell Urich, and I think that they ran out Thomas Matthew Crooks. Look here, so you don't look over there. Over there is Maxwell Urich. I think he is the key to Butler. He fought in the Ukraine. He is believed to have known Ralph, and he went to the shooting gallery, I have read, with Thomas Matthew Crooks. So we don't really know what happened, but what we do know is that Maxwell Urich's parents filed a missing persons report on him on July the 14th. We know that on July 13th, Maxwell Urich's van was confiscated and shown on national television being impounded and taken away by a wrecker. And his name surfaced. And then 2 hours later, they said, oh, no, we got it wrong. It's really Thomas Matthew Crooks. So the fact of the matter is that I've gotten so cynical for good reason because we've been lied to about Kennedy for 60 years. We're told that the building 7 fell because of debris from the Twin Towers. Yet there's no video that shows any debris hitting building 7. But at 6 p.m. that night, it mysteriously fell to the ground and it looked like a controlled demolition. And that's what some very smart people, all the engineers, believe, that it was a controlled demolition. So I just want this stuff to stop, and we've got to figure out how to shine light on it.
Yep.
That is the best disinfectant there is, and get this country back on a moral high ground.
You would think that with the new administration, some of us were hopeful that we would learn more about the would-be assassination attempts of Donald J. Trump. We'd like to learn. There's a lot of coincidences there. You mentioned the van, that everybody knew there was a van. Then people forgot the name of Maxwell Urich. But again, a lot of details out there. Just things that I find peculiar of the entire election season. CNN had not covered any of the Trump rallies. They just were not going to do it. They may show an excerpt here and there. They were not going to cover it. But it just so happens that Saturday in July that CNN decided to carry that Trump rally live. And there's just a lot of interesting things, dozens and dozens of rallies, and you decide to show that one live, which if the assassin would have been successful, would have been a public execution of an American president, former president, and future president. Your thoughts, all these other coincidences, not just the van, but the CNN coverage. I mean, why are we not learning more here?
I don't know. And I watched an interview with Trump last week, and they asked him point blank about it. And he said, well, I have to rely on my people, and my people tell me that everything's okay, that it's okay. Those were his words. And I'm like, it's not okay. There are more questions than answers. And you're the one who should be the most concerned about it. I suspect that the power of the intelligence community in this country is so great and so pervasive that it may be a monster that is incapable of being tamed. That's what I worry the most about. For 60 years, they have operated with unlimited amounts of money, with like no supervision, no accountability at all. There may be 5 people in this country that know what the CIA's budget is outside of the management of the CIA, and they're not talking, they're not telling. And you look at people like Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, who we have a lot of hope for and belief and trust in. And then when the first opportunity to do what they promised, which was to disclose all of the Epstein files, they shy away from it. And I don't know. I just don't know. I put it on a continuum. And on one side, I say the facts are too sensitive. They may injure too many innocent people. Maybe they injure really powerful people. Or maybe it is truly a national defense issue, a matter of national security. There are, they've been paid off, or they've been blackmailed. I mean, that's at the far other extreme, or their children have been threatened. I just don't know. But what I do know is that on January the 19th, they were saying day one, not even January the 19th. Kash Patel said in his confirmation hearing to a question asked by Senator Marshman from Tennessee, day one, we're going to release the Epstein files. We will do everything we can to stop the child predators. And then, oh no, I know suicide when I see it.
Yeah,
it was suicide.
It was fascinating to watch even the Epstein files. Who went to Epstein Island? Remember, Pam Bondi was on Fox News one night. I should have them on my desk in the morning. Then the next morning, they weren't there. We found out they were hiding them in New York, and so doggone it, what I looked at wasn't good.
What a crock!
Yeah,
they aren't hiding them in an office in New York. They're digitized. All she has to do, take her badge, use her password, log on to the FBI server, and go look at the damn documents. Yeah. Quit treating us like we're fools.
Well, so remember, they arrived at my office early this morning. Yeah. They're there, and I don't think we've heard a damn word about those.
I bet you they were delivered by Santa Claus and the Tooth Fairy too.
Yeah, we haven't heard another word since then, but a lot of folks think, oh, yeah, they're on it, and maybe they're not that much on it. There's a report out there, and I'm sure you follow these things closely, that Thomas Matthew Crooks, that suddenly we think got cremated, but we're not sure. Wink, wink. He was building a bomb or designing some kind of a bomb. What is this about? Is this a story that they're just trying to float to make you think that Thomas Matthew Crooks was more than a bedpan cleaner? Or what is this thing?
The fact is, I don't know. The body had a remote control device next to it that we were told was to trigger explosives. Now, Maxwell Urick's parents, on the other hand, own Urick Munitions in Mesa, Arizona. They are known to have sold arms to third world countries with the encouragement or involvement of the CIA. That's what I have read from numerous reports. Is it true? I don't have hard evidence, but there's a lot of smoke there leading you to believe that there may be fire. But and we were told, and we saw the van, as we talked about, being towed away from Butler, and we were told that it contained munitions. The van was titled to Urick Munitions. I mean, hello, it's right there in front of us. So was it Thomas Matthew Crook's bomb, or was it Maxwell Urick's bomb? The fact is, I just don't know. But I want to know. We need to
Yeah.
know. We demand to know. Enough of this craziness. And the
Yeah.
American people need to stand up and push back. Write your congressman, write your senators, write letters to the editor, assert yourself, and say, we demand to know the truth. That's
Yeah.
all we care about. And we want this illegal criminal activity that is conducted by the members, somebody at high levels in our own government. It's the only way it could happen. They're the only ones capable of it, and they're the only ones particularly able to cover it up. That's
Yeah.
my paradigm. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Kennedy taught us that.
Yeah, you've got both Kennedys, RFK, JFK.
Yeah, for sure.
Then you have the incompetence of letting a shooter hold up for hours and hours at a golf course they knew Trump was going to be on. And again, that story's also kind of mystified, gone away. And it seems like that'd be the trial of the century.
Well, I went to that site. I was here in my home in West Palm Beach, and my producer and I were working on a Sunday afternoon, and I was on the internet, and a flash came up that there was an attempt on President Trump's life at the golf course. And I told him, I said, let's go, get in the car, we're going. So we ran out there. We attended the press conference with the Secret Service, the FBI, and the sheriff. They told us that they were going to offer us full transparency and that they would disclose every piece of information that we had. Yet when members of the media, like myself, ask a question, we were only allowed to ask one question with no follow-ups. So again, the words and the actions just don't mesh. I have never been trained in protecting valuable assets, but I do have two eyes, two ears, and a brain. And I walk the entire circumference of the golf course, which I've played before, by the way. And it is fronted on one side by Summit Avenue and on the other side by Congress. Congress is a real major artery in West Palm Beach. And so I walked it. And what it was so apparent to me that even a child could figure out, if you had positioned a police officer or someone on the corner of Congress and Summit, maybe two people, one looking this way, one looking that way, you would have secured the entire perimeter.
Wow.
Because the sheriff's office and the jail are on the north side, and a swamp and water is on the west side. So that could be a little bit exposed, but not, the golf course really doesn't go far enough to be accessible by that street, the name of which I can't remember. It may be Jet. I can't remember. Anyway, but Summit and Congress, and the shooter entered on Summit, right across, just walked across the street, 100, 200 yards from the main entrance of Trump International Golf Course. A 5-year-old would have known to put people on that corner if they wanted to secure the perimeter. Meanwhile, I watch the president's motorcade all the time. I've seen it, I don't know how many times now, 20, 25. It's still thrilling. It is such a spectacle. The first thing that you see are 50 motorcycle cops from Palm Beach County, from Broward County, Palm Beach City, all these state patrol, all these jurisdictions with 50 cops riding on motorcycles with the president's car about, 10 vehicles behind, leading me to wonder, what is the purpose of the 50 motorcycle cops? The road's already been cleared.
Yeah.
It's show, pomp, circumstance, a spectacle, accomplishes nothing. How about just taking 3 of those 50 and put them on the street corners around Trump International Airport or golf course and protect the 47th president of the United States? We're
You're
not
talking
idiots.
common sense.
We're not idiots.
Yeah.
Quit
There's
treating us
something,
like it.
there's some loose lips evidently sink ships, and I still don't think we're getting all the answers. There's still time. Maybe they will, but so far, I think we could release a little bit more information and be a little bit more transparent.
I don't want a little more information. I want all the information.
Yep.
Enough of that. Enough of this cat and mouse games. Don't look over here because we look over here because we don't want you to look over here. That's exactly what we see played out time and time again. And do I sound upset about it? You're damn right I'm upset about it.
Yeah.
It's morally wrong. It's ethically wrong. It is legally wrong. Any measure that you want to use, it is wrong. And Donald Trump has got to get himself surrounded by a group of patriots loyal to him who are strong enough to push back on this evilness that is coming out of our own federal government, which I maintain is rotten to its very core.
Even, it seems as if, undercovering something that would be something the government might want to, the news media may want to drive. But again, media, even Fox and all these networks, conservative networks, don't ask the same questions you and I are asking about this stuff. They're, wrap themselves in the scroll of accountability and we're better than CNN or MSNBC. But when was the last time they pushed back on the secrecy and the assassination attempts? They're nothing. They're very much great to criticize Jake Tapper right now for not reporting, but looking back and seeing some of the things that conservative media is not even reporting on the big time networks. So, it's easy to criticize Tapper for cashing in on saying, oh gosh, we didn't know it. But conservative reporting needs to be a little bit more widespread as well, a lot more widespread.
Jimmy, I don't know about Fox. I really don't. I don't know about the conservative news outlets. But what I do know about is the fact that the FBI paid Twitter $3.4 million to censor and cancel people if they talked about anything that was not consistent with the government narrative on COVID. Fact. Politico, $10 million in federal government subscriptions that they received $75,000 to $100,000 a piece for. Why not buy one and do what everybody else does and share it with your family? It's a bunch of baloney. And I saw a list the other day. It is staggering the amount of money that our federal government under Joe Biden paid to the media. So in answer to your question, is very simple. They're in on it. They're being paid to follow what someone is telling them to report. We also know that the CIA has their own personnel embedded in every significant media outlet around the country. We also know that the CIA has their own personnel embedded in every single federal agency in Washington, D.C., including the Department of Defense, the State Department, and the White House. It's a treacherous place.
Yep.
And I just don't know how to tame it. I just want your listeners to know that I am not suicidal. I've been married 48 years in September. If we make it, I'm in a good place. I have a wonderful life, a wonderful wife. I love what I'm doing, but I am not going to be silenced or intimidated because I've studied this stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it for notoriety or for profit. I don't make a penny from it. I am saying it because I want my children, my sons, and my grandchildren to live in the country that is the greatest country on earth. And we've got to get it back.
Yep. John Gordon, The Truth with John Gordon. John, you've got a nationally syndicated show. You also a little presence online as well. Do you give you this opportunity to tell people how to listen to you and how to follow you online?
Well, thank you, Jimmy. You can go to johngordon.tv, and that will lead you to our YouTube channel. We got a little bio out there and most of our and the links to our social media. And you can email me. I'd love to hear from you. johngordontruth@gmail.com. Doesn't get any simpler than that. So I read every email and I respond to every email and I listen and I consider what our listeners have to say. And I really appreciate the input and the feedback. johngordontruth@gmail.com, johngordon.tv.
John Gordon, a pleasure, sir. We'll have you back on here again in the future. JohnGordon.tv. You can find out all of his broadcasting opportunities and the radio show, the YouTube channel, etc. JohnGordon.tv. All right, we got a question of the day. I forgot to fully unpack for you. We mentioned it yesterday. This past weekend, producer Chad was talking about he had a community garage sale. Not sure if you have those in your neighborhood, but the HOAs, the homeowners association, the covenant control groups, sometimes, or just the neighbors will get together and let's have a garage sale and get rid of our crap all at one time. And producer Chad was talking about he had a full sale. I mean, it was like he had a blue light special going on. He had Walmart. He was selling popcorn. He was like, let's come to the electronics department. Let me show you stuff. I mean, he had stuff. It was like a Goodwill. I mean, it was his own kind of Goodwill, but he made big money. Big money is what he made last weekend at his community garage sale. Well, a couple of weeks ago, where I live, the house of Lakey, the Brother Lakey estate. I like that. Instead of the Lakey estate, we're going to call it the Brother Lakey estate. That's even better. Sometimes I'm just a genius. So the Brother Lakey estate, we had a community garage sale, and I was not participating, but I was driving down over the moat and through the woods and getting out of the neighborhood, and I saw people were participating in a community garage sale. Well, I've never garage saled in my life, but I said, I do have some crap that I need to get rid of. So I just threw up a table literally in the driveway, and I'm out there going, well, yeah, that can go. And I'm just putting crap out there, and people coming up. They're like, how much is that? I said, that's 5 cents, 25. That's $1. And I was sold out within a few minutes, and everybody else was still going. And they said, well, there's a difference between a garage sale and giving it away. And what you did was you gave it away, but you charged for a nickel. So I cleared out quite a bit of stuff, $100, whatever it was. I got rid of stuff. Well, I realized that if I would have spent more time preparing for the community garage sale, I would have probably gone through cabinets and gone through closets and looked and said, gosh, we have so much crap. I don't think I'm a collector of stuff at all, but I guess sometimes I do get a little bit hoardy, if you will. And we have so much stuff in America, and I go to Africa and people live very simplistically, and I'm jealous of that. And sometimes I wish I was more simple like that. So the other day I was putting away I have in the kitchen of the house of Lakey. There's all the cabinets, and there's one corner cabinet that's all glass and you can see in, and that's where some crystal and glass is displayed, and it's just an easy place. All my friends know that's their favorite cabinet, because when they're getting a tumbler to pour themselves some booze at the bar, they grab it out of that cabinet. So we know it. So I was in there, and I don't even know how I got started, but I'm like, I start pulling out stuff that's in that glass thing. It's a large area, and there's corners that go, because it's a corner. And suddenly I realized, not fine crystal, but just cheap ass glassware. I have a bunch of it, and I had too much of it. And I was embarrassed and ashamed by my collection of cheap glass work. Part of it was people would give you a Christmas gift, like a box set of alcohol for Christmas, and it had like two little tumblers in it. Well, that's part of the gift, and I'd put them in that. They're way back in there. And so I have, if this were crystal, my friends, I would retire tomorrow and never talk to any of you again. Some of you I would talk to, but some of you I wouldn't. Just saying. I'm just being honest with you. So if this were crystal, but it's all cheap glass. I mean, some of it has sports teams logos. Some of it has, somebody years ago when Tim Tebow briefly signed with the Patriots, I was a big Patriots fan for the 10 seconds that Tebow was there. What was it, almost 15, 20 years ago? Somebody bought me a Patriots mug, a very nice little mug. I had that still. I don't know why. I didn't even know I still had it. I forgot about it until I pulled it out. So all that said is the question of the day becomes, is there anything that you would like to have a confession that you find when you're prepping for a garage sale or doing your spring cleaning? Can anybody else confess to saying, okay, I might have a problem? I remember one year I was cleaning out my backpack. I traveled much more prolifically in the music industry than what I do now. So I was always on the road, and I would always somehow end up need chapstick. I'd be at the airport, I would just buy more. And one day I was emptying my backpack, and there's a photo of it somewhere. And I think I had like 17 tubes of chapstick hidden away, tucked away in various parts of my backpack and the bag. It might have been 20. A lot. I had a real problem. I didn't know I was collecting and hoarding. And so evidently chapstick, I had to stop doing that. And I also now realize that I have a whole bunch of glass. And now it's sitting ready to go to the car. and I can't decide if I want to give it to Goodwill or something and donate it because somebody may need it. And then I'm like, you know what, Americans, we have way too much crap. We have too much crazy stuff. And so I'd like to hear your crazy stuff story, things that you have in your home that you're probably a collector of and you didn't mean to be a collector of. You're probably a hoarder. You didn't mean to be a hoarder of. Like to hear what it is that you would, if you started digging around, you'd say, yeah, I've got 17 bottles of tubes of chapstick as well. Lip balm, as they may call it. I had Carmex. I had the Chapsticks brand. I had stuff. I think I had one probably with Sherry Cree's name on it. Or Cindy Regal's. I had chapstick, like 20 of them. And I'm embarrassed to say it, but I was a chapstick hoarder. But since then, I have gone to therapy, and I'm trying not to hoard chapstick. And now I've got another area of my life cleaned out. And the clean part of my life, I have cleaned out the glassware. And so if you give me a gift, which you're always welcome to give me a gift, believe me, and it's a boxed set of liquor and whiskey, and it's got glasses in there, and you think that's good, please note the temptation for me might be to hoard that thing for the next 15, 20 years. So anyway, there's your question of the day. What crazy stuff would you find or did you find when you had been prepping for a garage sale? Was it the chapstick tubes or was it the glassware? What are the things that you're embarrassed that you have way too much of this and somehow you're not even sure how that collection got started? Make a comment on all the platforms out there. I'd love to hear from you. It's, just go to Facebook.com, Twitter, all of the places. If you make a comment on the Rumble, good morning, Rumble. How are you? Make a comment on the Rumble, and we would love to have you there as well, participating in the program, the crazy stuff you might have collected. All right, we'll come back here in just a moment, talk more about some of the news, zip through a couple more headlines. Cody commented this a couple of weeks ago, talking about this story from that Colorado is quickly climbing in the ranks of cities, Denver is, of cities that people want to leave. They want to get out of the high cost of living, all the things of. And Cody puts, Polis thinks the poop is street art. Well, maybe true. I don't know. I cannot confirm or deny. Anyway, those are the comments that we get. And some of those you see pop across the screen. If you're just listening to the audio portion of the show, that means you're listening later in the day with the podcast. And by the end of the day, there will be absolute thousands and thousands of earballs that hear this streamcast and podcast. Some of you watching it live on lots of platforms this morning, the Rumble, the X, the YouTube. You're watching it live out there on different platforms, and some of you will be listening later this afternoon on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart, etc. So wherever you're listening in real time or not, please note that I'm Jimmy. Nice to have you here. All right, I got some more stories I want to get to. The question of the day again, what are the things that you might have been hoarding in your home that you didn't think you were hoarding? Mine was glassware. I confess, I repent, and I'm bad at that. Matter of fact, we've got Sherry Cree, and before we get to a topic of availability in some homes and real estate, I bet she has probably seen some quite collections of people wanting to sell their home, or maybe she's shown some homes and said, yeah, they collect stuff here. I bet there's some great real estate stories of things that you find in homes that are out there on the listing. Please welcome from the green room. Here she is, Sherry Cree. Good morning, Sherry. How are you?
Good morning, Jimmy. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Good to see you. I'm throwing a kink at you here and just going to see if you can name it. Have you ever gone to a house that you're showing as an open house, you're taking your client to, and you walk in and go, that's weird. A weird collection of something, weird collection of stuffed animals. I don't know. Anything weird ever pop out to you when you take someone to a house that they want to look at?
All the time. I mean, on the listing side, we advise seller to prepare the home to showcase the house, not the stuff in it. So less is better when you're putting the house on the market. But when you're on the buyer side and then go see homes that the clients are interested in, and then simply they get distracted by things in the house. And I've been to a frog house. So everything was frog. Frog, salt and pepper shaker, frog this, frog that. And then the reason it's so destructive is like buyers are there only for like 15 minutes to look at your house for sale. And then, probably 9 minutes out of that, we're talking about frogs. So it takes away the time for buyer to appreciate what the house is and what it offers, when they come to see your listing. So Yeah,
the
house
frog
could
house.
be,
So if that family wanted that house, it called say, Sherry, we've thought about it, talked about it. We want to put an offer in on the frog house. It would always be known as the frog house.
Yeah, if you think about it, if you're a buyer house hunting, you always put a nickname on each house to identify that green carpet house or house with a parrot stocking, or you see all kinds of things. So you don't want your belongings to be the nickname for your house for buyers to identify.
The house that smelled like cat stuff. Yeah, that just smelly houses, things like that. All right, let's a serious topic. We're now in the month of June, and June, you've talked about this on the program before, that June, people think it's real busy. It actually kind of starts slowing down because of Christmas, because of school vacations and schools out, things like that. But let's talk about the market out there in Colorado. Very expensive. A lot of folks moving out of Denver because of the cost of living, maybe out to the suburbs, maybe out of state. I keep seeing, as I drive around, what I used to call them a duplex, and now they're called paired homes. I think that's a fancy word for duplex. How are those doing out there? Because it seems like that would be a great starter home, homes attached one another. Are they doing well? Because we have a lack of starter homes here in Colorado.
Yeah, so when you talk about market data, it is important to separate, especially now, separate the data talking about single-family detached homes or attached homes like condos and townhouses, paired home, those homes, because the attached homes are showing a significant decrease in the sales activities. So I'm a little old school. I go to those local realtor associations marketing meeting every Thursday morning, and we present our listings to other producing brokers in the area to have them bring the buyer to help us sell the home. And the same listing presented week after week. Those are all condos, townhouses, and if you look at the data, those are the ones that are not selling. And then the median price for attached properties are coming down actually slightly. Yes.
It seems like they would. It seems like they'd be going up because there's so many people, and there's maybe it's just fascinating to me that there's so few things on the market that I think that would be entry level for people to buy. Those would be the option. So does that mean that there's not many people moving into Colorado for their first time of purchasing a home, and that's why there's so much supply left of that?
Yeah. So the interest rate is hovering around on the high sixes, and the condos and townhouses used to be a good entry-level purchase. Typically, first-time home buyer with their budget for the price point, you buy your first home. It could be a condominium, townhouse, and then you build equity and upgrade to the single-family home. That is like a typical, journey, home ownership journey. However, one of the biggest reasons that attached homes are not moving well is HOA dues, and then the insurance industry. Some of the HOA communities have their monthly dues doubled, tripled, and I never heard of something that quadrupled. So that if you are first-time home buyer, I think the HOA dues put you in a certain like a buying power. So the typical first-time home buyer looking at $350,000 townhouse in the suburbs, they cannot afford to have like $500 a month HOA, and that puts your debt income ratio out of whack, and then you can't afford it. So that's like and then also the interest rate, I think high sixes are not end of the world. However, it's a huge impact for first-time home buyers, the entry-level home buyers, the interest and then down payment, those are the challenges they are being outpriced.
Yeah. Wow, fascinating, because I keep seeing these paired homes everywhere, and I guess they're the HOA and there's just Colorado's just become a very expensive place to live, and that's what you do with the client, is help them kind of know bang for the buck, because everywhere you're going to move in Colorado is going to be much more expensive than perhaps maybe if you're living in Texas or Arizona. It's going to be pricey to live here, so you got to have the expert on the field, on the ground, knowing exactly the nuances of just the variation of value for dollar from neighborhood to neighborhood, city limit to city limit. That's what Sherry Cree does. Her website you see on the screen is homeswithsherry.com, homeswithsherry.com. Sherry, let's ask you, it's now the month of June. Again, this summer is going to zip by. I can't believe it's already June. Again, a lot of folks list their homes, a lot of folks doing spring cleaning. Give Sherry Cree's advice to people that have been thinking of selling or thinking of buying, or maybe they're ready to go. What is your advice right now in the market that we live in that they should be doing in the month of June if a real estate transaction is in their future? Why is June important?
There's all different types of opportunities. If you are selling your home this summer, it is so critical, because to price it right and prepare the home to as close as possible to perfection. And the preparation of the home in top-notch condition and pricing well competitively, it has always been an important thing any time of the year if you're selling a house. But it's especially now because inventory has increased. That means you have more competition. Buyer has choices, and then buyers know the houses are not selling in a matter of week or one weekend, so that they take sweet time to make sure if it's the right house. Can you negotiate the price? Can you negotiate seller concession to buy down the interest rate? So as a seller, you really need to prepare your home. Don't hit the market prematurely, hoping to get more and then see what happens. And that strategy is not working right now. And on the other hand, if you're a buyer, I recently threw out there. It's a graduation season, and anybody as a parent interested in buying a condominium in a college town where your kid is attending school at, and then have the kid manage the roommates to generate revenue. And when a kid graduate, you can keep it as an investment property. And there's a way to purchase a home as your college student, as a primary owner-occupant buyer. And then there's a loan program for parents or family member to be a non-resident co-borrowing partner to allow your kid to purchase on a home, the condo or townhouse or something like that, especially because that market is not moving. So the price has been coming down, and that there's a good options to all the ideas to think about.
So yeah, this is the time of year you think you're ready to pack Johnny or Judy back off to the dormitories. Maybe you call Sherry Cree wherever you're at in the country, because she can connect with realtors elsewhere as well. But if you're in Colorado, especially, you call Sherry and say, hey, you know what? My child was going to rent an apartment in College Town. They're not going to move in the dorms. Maybe I should talk about making an investment property that's going to pay off long-term, or that could pay off those student loans when you decide to sell it. So that's a great idea people don't think about.
But you can purchase it as a owner-occupant, your kid as a main buyer, and then use the parents' income and credit to because college kids, they don't have income and credit to qualify, but the parents can support that.
Yeah, that'd be a great idea, because a lot of parents know that their kids are heading off to college and they're out of the dorms their second, third year in, but they're going to be in an apartment complex. So maybe you buy the condominium and use that as a owner occupied, and let them manage some roommates and pay the rent, and boom, you have an investment just like that. Sherry, it sounds like folks need to just, if they're getting ready to list, first of all, get rid of the frogs. You got none of the frog stuff. You got to get rid of that. But that's what you can help with, because a lot of folks on their pricing of their home, they get very emotional. I know it's worth more. I know it's worth more. And then sometimes that other set of eyes is great because, yes, it could be worth what you think, but here's what you would need to do that. And you can help them know. So again, people have a sentimental price. Go ahead.
Yeah, you can intentionally, strategically create a multiple offer situation by listing lower than the market value. And then sometimes it ends up in a better outcome than trying to stretch the price point, trying to, I don't want to leave money on the table. Let's see if we list it here and see if we can sell it. And then you can't, and then you have to drop the price and then less offers. That sometimes we use the strategy in the down market to price lower than the market value to strategically create multiple people to be interested in the property.
Sherry Cree, your website, homeswithsherry.com, homeswithsherry.com. Sherry, we'll talk to you very soon. Appreciate you hopping on, homeswithsherry.com. Reach out, and her phone number's there, and talk to her. You want to buy, you want to sell, you want to talk about that option for an investment property your kid is an owner-occupant of. Listen, on the college campus or near the college town, homeswithsherry.com. Homeswithsherry.com. What are you waiting on? Go to the Homes with Sherry website, homeswithsherry.com. All right, we're going to do meme roulette here in just a moment. But I do want to, we were quick today. Let me put up the story out there, and I see Jim's post there. We're talking about question of the day, things that you kind of are embarrassed, but it's going to be good therapy for you to confess that you probably collected too many of these things. I collected a lot of glassware, gift sets. I mean, I would go to cigar festivals. They always hand out a little shot glass at cigar festivals, and you'd walk around and taste the liquor. That's this big smoke. The Rocky Mountain Cigar Festival, they give you the VIP. They get you little shot glasses usually. Well, I had a collection of them, and I have no clue why I had a collection of them. I haven't used them since the event, but I had them, and they're still in a box there. And I'm trying to decide, like Jim had old floppy disk, data disk. 3.5 inch, 5 1/4 inch, 8 inch size floppy disk. Now, some of you kids out there going, Daddy, what's a floppy disk? Well, they make pills for it. Let me just say that. Oh, that's different. Oh, yeah, these are computer disks. Box of old modems as well. And also they have speeds ranging from 330 bytes per second to, what I also think I have, and I need to probably now do that. I'm embarrassed about the glassware. I think I have a hell of a lot of cables. I would, like you, every once in a while I would trade, like I would go from the Comcast to the DirecTV back to the Comcast, or they would send me a new modem and I'd upgrade. Just little things like that and all the cables, they always a new pack of cables. Well, the old ones work fine. And I found a basket about this big and that wide, and evidently I had kept every cable ever known to humanity. Cables that I don't even think they make them on a night, maybe dating back to like a 1980s console. RCA cables. Why do I still have RCA cables? There's nothing in my life that I need RCA cables for, but I think I still have some. I know where a little basket is with a lot of cables in it. I confess, if you're going to confess to your modems, Jim, and your problem with the floppy disk, if you're going to confess that, then I'm going to confess that I also have cables. If I was handy and technical and savvy and that kind of stuff like producer Chad, you would make sense for me to have cables. But it makes as much sense for me to have cables as it does for me to have a toolbox. My friends, Lakey, you got a screwdriver? Nope. I got a butter knife. That's what I got. That's all I got. All right. Our Lois says, we have a lot of cables, and I have no idea what most of them are for. What is it about us Americans who just keep crap? We just I've got to keep the cables. You never know when that cable's going to come in handy. And after 15 years, that cable has never come in damn handy, and we still have the cables. My friends, I beseech you therefore, brethren and sistren, take the cables and throw them out. But this is my quandary. Now, are you like me? Well, somebody ought to get use out of them. I'm going to take them to Goodwill. And we just we're junk collectors, my friends. We are. I for some reason, I'm having a tough time. I've got this box of glassware that it's going to go in the car, but I'm afraid if I put it in the car, I'm going to have to stuff papers or something in it because I'm afraid it's going to start banging in glasses and stuff. It's the weirdest glasses ever. Anybody want some glassware? I'll give it to you. But I'm telling you, the glassware, I want to throw it away, but I feel guilty, and I don't know why I feel guilty about that. It's just weird. Anyway, all the stuff you collect, feel free to confess to us. That's what we're doing here today, confessing the stuff that we have collected in our houses that we became. We just don't know why we did it. All right, I want to talk about trying to get one of our state reps, Colorado Republican, in here. Talk about the Dems using a fundraiser with Ilhan Omar. That's a very interesting take, but it just shows the radicalization that has happened among the Colorado Democrat Party, and it's out there, coast to coast across the nation. It's also fascinating to watch Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez put out there how she's horrified by these attacks in Boulder, and yet the fermentation and the churning up and the percolation of all this angst and this anti-Semitism is happening on the university campuses, and AOC is not out there stopping it. There's radical cries. They're starting to use the phrase, you'll see the signs of their protest about the intifada, and the intifada basically means, hey, it's time that we bring the battle to America. It's really just bizarre. And what I also hope that happens under Kash Patel and the FBI investigating this, and I guess because they declared it a terrorist attack, which freaks CNN out, you can't, too early to say terrorists did it. Well, no, it's a terrorist attack. Because they declared it that way, that gives the ability to use different law enforcement investigative tools that maybe they can get a little bit to the bottom of it. Now, evidently, this terrorist, this Egyptian terrorist, Mohammed, that was trying to burn Jews alive on the streets of Boulder, evidently he not only owned up to it, he said he would do it again. He wanted to kill all the Zionists. And here's an interesting thing. The guy declared asylum. They gave him a work permit, and was he a great contributing member of society? No, he was driving an Uber car. Is this why we let people in here for work permits and green cards? We need more Uber drivers here, right? We need some more Uber drivers. We need some more Lyft drivers. So we better open the floodgates from Egypt. It really just kind of. The claim to asylum, you were here for a couple of months, several months in a year, and never claimed asylum, but only when you realized you didn't want to leave did you decide to claim asylum. And then, you're not only claim asylum, well, go find so we just, asylum, you're 4 or 5 years, we'll listen to you clean, but in the meantime, go drive Uber. And this is what the Biden administration called an immigration policy that was not good. But with these new investigative powers that I think the FBI brings by calling them terrorists, is that they're going to be able to look at some things that perhaps they were not able to look at. The FASA courts and all that stuff get involved. And I hope they do. Now, evidently, he left a cell phone behind that had messages to his family. I guess he had a wife and kids or some family here. And they have surrendered that phone. But I hope they go through every bit of this guy's life for forensic evidence to find out how it is. Was he radicalized when he got here? And the Biden administration just opened the floodgates for Uber drivers to come in here. I'm a tourist. Now I'm going to think of that. Going to America to tour, to see sights and to visit family or whatever. I get my visa. And then I say, oh, well, hell, I think now that I'm in the country, I got my foot in the proverbial door. Oh, vapors. They're going to hurt me back. I have to have asylum here. Get a green card. So you leave Egypt thinking you're coming back to Egypt, but really you just got your foot in the door and all of a sudden ended up with a work visa, and all of a sudden you're an Uber driver. A great product. I love Uber drivers. A lot of you maybe make extra money doing Uber drivers. Great for you. But I don't think we need immigrants coming in from overseas to drive our Uber vehicles. I think there's plenty of Americans that will do that. People say, well, immigrants will do jobs that Americans won't do. Listen, Americans will drive the Uber, believe me. Americans will drive the Lyft, and we don't need work visas going out to people to come over here and drive Uber. I don't think that's a problem. That's not one of those jobs that you people are crying about that Americans will not do. It's going to be interesting to see who radicalized the guy. What did his wife know? What did his family know? Were they surprised? I mean, just a lot of questions that have to be asked. Go back and watch yesterday's show, which 2 law enforcement officers, participants, Michael Letts and Steve Reams, pretty much agreed that they called it a lone wolf attack, but the action itself may be a lone wolf attack, but you did not get there as a lone wolf. Somebody participated in your manipulation, in your indoctrination, in all of the things that you're going through your beady demonic head that caused you wanted to burn other human beings alive, like this demonic man that was in the streets of Boulder on Sunday. He might have shown up there on the street, by himself, but he did not get there by himself. And who was complicit with him and partnering with him in his studies, in his radicalization? Who was he listening to? Who was he having coffee with? Who was it that participated in that? And those people need to be punished, held accountable, removed from the country, locked up, whatever the case may be, because we just can't have this. I watched Tom Homan last night on the Fox News, and he's talking about this radicalization and these the people that Joe Biden led across the border. And Homan actually, he was almost not encouraging. He said it's going to take 10 years. He said it is so bad what has been allowed in this country under Joseph, the demented fool that he is, the narcissistic son of a gun and also had dementia and pooped in his pants and all this stuff. Holman, who's going pretty aggressive, says it's going to take 10 years to clean this stuff up. That's how bad it had gotten under Joseph Rubalad, Poopy Pants Biden, and that's some scary stuff. Go watch that Holman interview. He was on I don't know if it's Hannity. I just watch interviews a lot of times. I don't really watch the whole show, and I think he was on Hannity. It might have been Jesse Waters, but it was on in the background. I had some steak with producer Chad last night and decided to come home and watch a little interview television. And it was Holman was scary. I mean, in a great way, but in a frightening way as to how bad it's gotten. Anyway, it's going to be interesting to see who radicalized this guy. They may call him a lone wolf shooter in Boulder, but who else either in Colorado was complicit with him up until the time he drove from Colorado Springs up to Boulder? Who was complicit? Who knew he was taking the trip? Whose sermons had he been listening to? Which mosque or house of worship had he been going to? Did his family know? There's a lot of questions, and I hope they get to the bottom of it. And they're doing that by they're doing it with a heavy investigation. We got to follow. I got to do the meme roulette here, but there's a great quote by Nate Silver that I did not get to. It's on his Silver Bulletin Substack. You got to pay to be back there, so I'll just tell you what it says. He basically, remember Ann Coulter? We talked about this said years ago that liberalism is a mental disorder. Nate Silver, who's a left-leaning but says he's a centrist type pollster and cultural and political researcher, he said he's done some survey and it might prove Ann Coulter right. That Ann Coulter was right, that liberalism might be a mental disorder. Just saying it. It's Nate Silver. We'll talk about it tomorrow. Ladies and gentlemen, round and round the globe we go for the segment of the show that we call Meme Roulette. Round and round the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. Ladies and gentlemen, this is sad and yet true, and I throw this up here. It's a headline yesterday from the Babylon Bee. Colorado rules that Jews must bake a cake for terrorists who lit them on fire. Now, if you don't get that joke, I'm going to say, if you don't get that humor, I had a friend last night that did not get it. He goes, what's that about? Bake a cake. Then you haven't, first of all, you're probably not getting your news from the right sources. You're probably not well read enough. I'm being honest with you. If you did not get this joke, that you look up the story. Masterpiece Bakery, Jack Phillips went all the way to the Supreme Court. They tried to, it was a setup. Some gay wedding folks came in and said, you got to make us a cake with a gay embrace and all this. He goes, I'll bake you a cake, but I'm not decorating with homosexual themes or homosexual weddings against my religion. He took it all the way to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said, yeah, Colorado, shut the hell up. Jack Phillips has religious freedom, and he doesn't have to bake it. The same way that a Muslim-run bakery does not have to make a cake that would say, I like bacon and whatever. You get the idea. And so this is a headline that it illustrates the absurdity of the American left under the rules that Jared Polis and the Colorado Democrats have promoted. All the Colorado Jews need to bake this guy a cake and thank him and maybe just help him out. That's the rules of the state of Colorado, and that's the funniest damn headline. And I just say this, I'm shocked that my friend said, I don't understand it. If you don't get that joke, you need to be more well-rounded, because there's a lot of cultural war that's going on, especially in the state of Colorado, a lot of cultural warfare. All right, here we go. Round and round the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. J.D. Vance says, Kamala Harris calls me and Donald Trump disloyal to America. Call me crazy, but I think it's disloyal to let in 20 million illegal aliens and poison our citizens with fentanyl. That's for a check mark of a J.D. Vance account. Call me crazy, J.D. says. Call me crazy, Kamala. But you were the border czar. You let in 20 million illegals And not a very good borders are you are. Round around the globe we go, where we steal the memes from no one knows. Oh, it's a little cartoon. The little girl says, Mommy, what does a colostomy bag look like? And the mother replies, have you ever seen Maxine Waters? I should not laugh at that humor, but I did. Round around the globe we go, where we steal the memes from no one knows. Ladies and gentlemen, another winner from the Babylon Bee. Those of us in Colorado can relate to this. Colorado Rockies have been demoted in the Major League Baseball. Yep, they're now part of the Church Softball League. It's pretty bad here in Colorado. It is pretty bad. But you know what? Coloradoans still keep showing up down the stadium, the baseball park, and they keep filling it up. It's pretty bad. I think Church Softball League may be quite generous at this point. Round around the globe we go. How many more memes do we have to go? It's Taco Tuesday. El Arroyo is in Austin, Texas. As much as I want a taco, what I really want is 2 tacos. Taco Tuesday. We should have had breakfast tacos in the green room this morning. Damn it. Round around the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. Ladies and gentlemen, we have milked the meme machine dry. Scott says, have a great day, Jimmy and Chad. See you manana. Real quick, before I depart here, I was thinking of this yesterday, driving last night, that we live in an effed up world. I mean, we live in a really jacked up world. We live in a world in America where we're so blessed that we collect crap in our houses that we have to confess to. And as the prince of the podcast, thank you, I see the title now, we live in a jacked up world. We live in a world in which you can't even go to a prayer march in Boulder, Colorado without worrying about some radical Islamic kicking your ass and taking out the flamethrower. And it's not just crazy here, it's crazy around the globe. If you've traveled internationally, you realize, even though Ilhan Omar and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez want you to think that America is not the greatest nation on the face of God's green earth, you go to other places and it is. And I've been talking with you about a lot of what we do with our charity, Rivers Promise, riverspromise.org, riverspromise.com, making a donation. And it is very important to help us feed the kids. I talk $30 feeds a kid 2 meals a day for 30 days. It's a miracle that we can do that. I've been talking about $65 feeds the kid, and also that keeps them in school and insurance and things like that. But I wanted to emphasize, I guess, a little bit more than I have been. It just kind of hit me yesterday while I was driving, that oftentimes we talk about that real, we talk about the parts of a human body, mind, and soul, body, mind, and spirit. And yes, we work on their kid's mind. We work on their body with nutrition. But when you sponsor a kid, when you donate to Rivers Promise, you are giving hope of a brighter tomorrow, spiritually as well, to a child. We are a Christian-based organization. When they go to our school, they're learning about the gospel of Jesus Christ. They're learning about the hope that is in our faith, and you're helping us do that. So it hit me last night. I said, we often talk about the body, and we got to feed the kids, and that's important. I don't want any kid to be hungry out there, and we're feeding a lot of them. But we're also talking about the mind. I said this often at our charity, Hope for Children, Rivers Promise. We give hope to children. Education is the ladder that a kid can use to climb from the pit of extreme poverty. But I don't ever want to discount the fact that we are a Christian organization, Christian school, and we believe that in the midst of darkness, whether your country is coming off of a 20-year later genocide, or whether you live in Boulder, whether you live in Kigali, wherever you live, that there is hope in faith in Christ. And that's one of the things we want to teach these kids. And we do that when they have the full belly and they realize, hey, I'm going to be able to read and write and do arithmetic, and I'm going to have a hope for a brighter tomorrow, and I can dream of having something else. And then we say, yeah, and there's hope for a brighter tomorrow when you're not on this planet. So please remember, and I say that, I just wanted to emphasize that, or as we say, sometimes put some emphasis on it, that it's not just the body and the mind that we're working with Rivers Promise. We're also working with the soul, working with the kids deep down, and we want them to understand the hope that they can have in the faith that we have, and faith is in Jesus, and that's why we do what we do. And so if you can help us, it's wonderful that you would. $20, $10, there's a dollar amount, but this is not just a feeding program. This is not a feeding program for poor kids. This is about a holistic development of a kid with a Christian-based education and understanding understanding that what we see on this world is temporal, and your poverty you may live in is temporal, but there's hope for eternity, and through Christ, and we do that at our school, and that's what we do there. So, hey, I just want to throw that out there because I often talk about the education of the mind, and then I also talk about the food and the importance of all that. Those are important, but we are body, mind, and spirit. And we're trying to hit that other part as well with the Christian message. So, hey, when you partner with us, you are helping us do that. And would you consider it right now? Do that. I need to tell you this. We've got a kindergarten graduation coming up at our school. In a couple of weeks, we're graduating to kindergartens tomorrow. Start showing some photos of those cute kids. Even the expense of a kindergarten graduation is a few $100. We have to rent them robes, and we really make them feel special. You say it's not necessary. No, there's a lot of things that aren't necessary, but sometimes just boosting a kid that has nothing and letting their family see that there's hope. I mean, we're talking parents that have never had a day of education. Now they see their kid graduating school for free. It's inspiring to them. It builds the heart for them as well. So if you want to help us, any donation you have, don't forget 2 weeks from today, I will actually be, hopefully, good Lord willing, doing the show from Kigali, Rwanda, assuming that our connections are good. I'll be doing several shows when I'm there. I will be there, and so I can literally say what you give today is not just going to feed a kid, help them stay in school. It's not just going to allow them to share the gospel with them, but it's going to allow us, my friends, to, as a Christian-based organization, it's going to allow me to go over there and oversee that which we are giving to these great people. Hope. And again, body, mind, and spirit. And I oftentimes emphasize the body and the mind part, but I don't oftentimes talk about the spiritual part of it. And there's hope in a higher power, if you will. And we teach that Christian message there at Legacy Christian Academy. And we hope you'll help us with this. So there's more to giving than just feeding the kids' belly and making them smart. Because we got a lot. Let me tell you, we got a lot of kids in American universities, that they are full in their belly and they're real smart in their head, but they ain't real smart when it comes to morality and direction and what their life really is, why they're on the planet. And so I want you to know that we're not just feeding their body and feeding their mind. We're trying to get them ready to be people. The Bible says there is no one good except God alone, which is true. But if we could try to be a little bit more like that, then that would be better for all of us. So donate, riverspromise.org, riverspromise.org. Hope for children, body, mind, and spirit. Hope for children, riverspromise.org. I feel like we should do an altar call now. Bow your head. No. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a pleasure being a part of the show. I appreciate all of you, everybody, for tuning in today. Body, mind, spirit, help us help in all those areas. We do it through the Christian message, Rivers Promise Legacy Christian Academy. You're helping us build it. 2 weeks from today, I will be there. And you can literally, in spirit, be there with me through the show and also through your donation today, riverspromise.org. Ladies and gentlemen, Brother Leroy, strike up the band, brother. It's time to go. I miss all of you immensely and eternally. My heart breaks that we will be apart, but 20 hours, how many hours? 22 hours from now, we'll be back together. 23 hours. I can't do math. I didn't go to Legacy Christian Academy. I'll see you tomorrow. God bless you. God bless America. Jimmy Lakey. Peace. I'm out of here.